Hey, welcome to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast, the place where you get straightforward, no nonsense, no holds barred ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. The Bald Truth Leadership Podcast is brought to you by the Peak Performance Group. I'm your host, Coach Rick Colster, certified executive business coach and the chief coaching officer of the Peak Performance Group, where we help people and organizations align and maximize their potential. Our guest today wears many hats. He's an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, radio host, an expert in the health and fitness industry, and a longtime supporter and advocate for ending abuse in the home. Today, we've got Larry North of Larry North Fitness here on The Bald Truth. I am so excited. Larry, thanks for being on. Welcome to The Bald Truth, my friend.
My pleasure. Honor to be part of your podcast today, Rick.
It's a ton of fun, man. We're having fun. You've got some cool stuff going on. I don't even know where to start. We met, 15, 18 plus years ago. And I've had the privilege and the pleasure of being your friend, watch you speak, watch you grow your business. I mean, you created and grew one of the best independent fitness companies in Texas. And I know you're in other states as well. This is a competitive industry. And I'm going to dive right in because that's what I do. What were you thinking when you first started the first Larry North Fitness?
Well, you'd have to go back a little bit deeper. My mom, I forget what year it was, but I know my I have twin brothers at the time they were 17. And my mom had unfortunately had breast cancer. And I'm happy to say she's a survivor. She's 87, great
that's
health.
Awesome.
But that was a really tough time in our lives. I was doing everything I could to make money. I was bouncing in bars. I was selling ladies' shoes at Neiman Marcus. I was training people in the morning. I was in the gym at 4:30 a.m. I always had that hustle mentality. Now, my brother, because he opted to live with me, and my other brother opted to go with my mom to California to recover after her surgery. She wanted to be with her sister. It was a better environment than being here in Dallas.
Makes sense.
So my brother Adam, he lived with me, and I really basically forced him to be a barback against because I didn't want him. I was bouncing in this. I really wasn't about it. It was a place called San Simeon. It was a beautiful, elegant nightclub in Dallas at the time. And my brother always tells the story that from the time I was about 19, I knew I would own my own gym, but I could describe it in detail to you. I could describe how clean it was going to be. I could describe the equipment that was going to be in there, the way we would treat people. And it got to the point, probably for some people, if they saw me, they might have turned around and walked the other way because I was going to burn their ear off with telling them about what I was going to do eventually. And even at that nightclub, and that was a very prestigious nightclub in Dallas, given the opportunity, I'd tell someone about this gym that I was going to build someday. Okay. So I had already preconceived it in my brain. I was showing up to work early in the morning, cleaning a club that didn't exist, but yet in my brain, it was there. And so I got the opportunity to, I'll tell it like this. So my brother likes to describe, we lived in a not so nice apartment in a not so nice neighborhood, and how it's not so nice. They don't deliver pizza to your front door. And we lived on the third floor. And I'm not kidding, Rick. So one day I jump up and I run up the stairs and I have a piece of paper in my hand. My brother goes, "What's that?" I go, "It's a lease. I just signed a lease in the most prestigious shopping center, maybe in the country, the Highland Park Village." I'm 26, 27 my brother goes, "How are you going to do that? We don't have any money." I said, "Well," and by the way, we had one mattress in each bedroom and a TV, a big TV in the living room. That was it. No furniture. I said, "Adam, I don't have time to talk about that. Come on down. We're going to bring up a new piece of furniture. I got a new piece of furniture sitting down at the bottom of the stairs. It's a treadmill." So we carry it up and literally I said, "Adam, I got a lot of things to try to figure out. And I'm going in a million directions." I said, "I'll be back in 2 hours and we'll talk about it." I come back. My brother has put that treadmill in front of his bathroom mirror where he could see himself. And he is walking and jogging in his underwear and just sneakers. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Big brother, if you're going to open up this gym and I'm going to be working there, I got to get in shape." Because he knew that I was going to do this. I never allowed money or lack of money to prevent me from doing anything I've ever wanted to do in my life, Rick. And so to sort of fast forward the story, I said, Adam, come sit down with me. We sat Indian style on the floor. I said, I know that this gym is not your dream. It's my dream. But if you help me, I need your help. Help me live my dream. And I promise, brother, I will help you live yours. And I said, but right now, I'd like to know, what are your dreams? And I kid you not, Rick, it was like a reel spinning in his head. He goes, well, I want to retire when I'm 35. I want to travel the world and I want to live the good life. I go, he startled me for a moment. I go, repeat that slowly. He goes, I want to retire when I'm 35. I want to travel around the world, and then I want to live the good life. I hugged him. I said, let's do this. But then that night, I'm laying on that mattress, and I call it the white wall moment. Everyone's been there. You're laying and you're looking up at a white ceiling, and you're thinking, what did I just do? How did I get myself in this? How am I going to figure this out? And so ultimately, you figure it out. And it would take 3 podcasts to tell you the journey that I went from the time I signed that lease to the time I opened officially. And it's a great story, but we don't have time for it now. But I do want to share something with you. So my brother Adam, he didn't retire at 35. He retired at 36. He didn't just travel the world once. He's done it about 5 times, literally around the world. There's a ticket on American Airlines. If you buy it and you go the same direction, you can go around the world. Right now, he lives with the love of his life in Tulum, Mexico, right near the beach. And that's the life he lives, is the good life. So we both had this premonition. Mine was to go into business, Jim, be on my own, be an entrepreneur. His was to figure out how he was going to live the good life. So that's really how it all started.
Man, I love this. This is vision, passion, every entrepreneur. And I mean, for me, I'll give you a little hint on me. I bought my first restaurant. I was in the bar business too. That's how I put myself through college. You know, I was pick the big lineman that can be the bouncer. So I know exactly what you did. And then I ended up, you know, at 22, I bought a little pub in my hometown. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know I wanted to be partners with this guy who's my big brother. He was like my big brother. I wanted to do this. I went to him. I have $3,000. That's all I had, the money I had to my name. I said, Steve, I want to be your partner. And he says, yeah. So we did. We bought a bar and we started selling a lot of beer, a lot of shots and beer. It's a little blue collar bar in West Orange, New Jersey. And, you know, on and on and on. So I love that from an entrepreneurial spirit, is having that vision. When you had that vision, it was so crystal clear, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was so clear in my mind. And so I had I got into bodybuilding and working out at a very young age. I was working at my first gym when I was 16, Doug's Gym in downtown Dallas. I was very good friends with Doug. I worked out at the Austin Gym as a teenager. And then I had a partner of mine, and we started my first company at age 20 before I opened my first gym. It was called Murphy North Personalized Training.
Okay.
And we were like, you would never see me without my friend and him. We were just glued together, and we were best friends. And he is just a great guy, but he threatened we lived together in the Village Apartments in Dallas, where everyone at one point my age has lived in the Village Apartments, I think.
Sure.
And he threatened to leave. I go, why? He goes, because you're lying all the time. I go, I've never lied. What are you talking about? He goes, you're telling everyone that you're going to be on radio, you're going to be on TV, you're going to write a book. I said, well, I'm going to. He goes, but you're not. He goes, you're not on radio. You're not on TV. You haven't written anything. I said, Doug, but I'm going to. And he thought it was lying when it was really just my internal, instinctive, intuitive premonition of what I planned on doing. So I have known from a very young age the things that I planned on doing. And so he just couldn't understand that, because the power of visualization, sometimes you have to talk it out. You have to express it. You have to talk about it. And I've done that my whole life. I knew the kind of woman I wanted to attract in my life, and I've got her. And so it's just, it's just something that I don't know where I got it, but I just seem to have it.
And that's something right there that I absolutely believe in 100%. Visualization. You put it out there into the universe. Say, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. When you do that, so for an entrepreneur, if you were to say, someone would listen and say, an entrepreneur, how important would that be? And what do you have to do to make sure that you're putting the right thing out there?
Right. So you're asking that as a question. I think it's sort of like this. There's three powerful words that I would say I put at the top of my list. They all begin with the letter P: persistence, perseverance, and passion. And if you can be very successful and master all three of those, I don't care if you choose to be a teacher, a lawyer, work at putting groceries in a bag. If you can do those with so much enthusiasm, you're going to be successful in whatever it is you try. And as a society, we tend to associate success with net worth. I don't. I have many friends on both coasts that aren't that tremendously wealthy, but they're so successful in the kind of human being they turned out to be, and how they treat others, and how they grew a family with integrity, and many measuring tools for success. I think we first met, it was at a women's organization that abused women. And, in weight loss and in life, I talk about the fact of the definition, Rick, of hopeless. The definition is not thinking there's a solution to your problem.
Sure.
See, I can't think of a worse feeling is to feel hopeless. Feel like you're overweight and there's no solution. You've tried everything, or maybe you grew up in a family that just doesn't have a whole lot. Just there's no money, and you feel like you're never going to get out of that neighborhood or out of that house and ever achieve something. And the same thing with the people that are abused, not just women, but anyone that's abused that can't get out of it. They feel hopeless because they don't feel there's a solution to their problem. The reality is there's always a solution. Sometimes they just don't know how to get there. And that's why they need guidance. They need help. I didn't do anything by myself, Rick, ever. Nothing. I've always had mentors. In fact, if I had a mentor or a prospective mentor, I bulldoze my way to get in front of them.
Here's a question. So sure. Many of us need mentors, and I'm wholeheartedly there for mentors.
You are a mentor, by the way.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's part of what I do professionally, but also, part of it is how to get a mentor. People sometimes go, well, where's my mentor? And looking around going, where is he? Where is she showing up? Where are they? I always told them, and in my second book, Roll Up Your Sleeves and Get to Work, I said, you got to ask them. You've got to go say, I want you to help me. Really simple and clear, not wait for them to go, hey, can I help you? You look like you're struggling a little bit. Because they don't really care, to be honest with you. The reality is they've got busy enough stuff in their lives, if they're not looking for you most of the time. You have to go looking for them and then be proactive with that. So how did you do that? When you saw that, what drove you to go, I need that guy right there?
I did it at a very young age, but I didn't know what I was doing at the time until I actually had a conversation with I think was one of my favorites, Zig Ziglar. And
I love Zig, man. I love Zig.
As a kid, and he talks about leadership where you grab the baton. So view it like a baton that people hand off when they're doing a track meet. And so I've taken that baton and I would hand it basically, not not literally, but figuratively, I would hand the baton to that person who I felt was going to be my inspiration, my coach, my leader at that moment in time. I can look back and tell you that I outgrew many of them, but at the time they were perfect and wonderful. And so I've done it my whole life, and I've been able to do it with some pretty successful people in business that you would recognize if I said their names. One's Norm Brinker. Brinker, I handed him that baton. One is still a very beloved friend, Darwin Deason, who's a self-made billionaire from Arkansas. Handed him the baton. And I've done, and it doesn't always have to be in business. It could be a number of things. Joe Morrow, a name that would mean nothing to most people, but he was a guy that I worked for in my first job. He was from the same town I'm from in New York. He moved here at the same time I landed. And Joe taught me how, like Joe used to say, fear no man, because he's just a man. And he would talk all these things. He'd say, how to treat women respectfully. Like, I learned a lot of that because I didn't get that necessarily from my own father. But I love before he died, the last sentence that he had his son text me was, most of all, Larry, be kind.
Yeah. What a great message.
But the most important thing is be kind. And so, again, how do people rate their success? I know a lot of people that are financially successful. Some of them aren't kind. Some of them have a plethora of their own personal issues. So back to success, I think, and you and I are the same age pretty much. As we get older, I think we realize what tends to be most important. We're in a coronavirus environment that's, it's crazy. We've never been in this situation in modern history, but a lot of good things can come from that. Being closer with your family, eating dinner at home, putting your cell phone away because it doesn't matter who's going to be texting you or calling you, and really finding out really who you are. So, those are the kind of things that I spend my time doing.
No, I think you're absolutely right there. Success, we always say at the Peak Performance Group, success is a continual achievement of your own predetermined goals. And it doesn't matter if you have millions in the bank, if you've got 2 Lamborghinis, houses on every continent, whatever it is. But if you're not achieving what you want to achieve, you won't feel successful. But if you go out every day and you set your goals, what's your next goal? Is it a weight loss goal? Is it a business goal? Is it I'm going to meet 10 more people? I'm going to make 10 more friends. I'm going to change someone's life. Whatever it is for you, if you continually achieve that, whatever it is, you're going to feel pretty good about yourself. And that's what I'm learning at my age is I want to feel good. I want to do good and feel good. And like you said, be good and do good things and be kind. My rule is be nice.
Be nice.
I did steal it. I will put it where I got it. Put the asterisk on where I got it. If you ever watched the movie Roadhouse, and I know we both resonate with that, right?
Yes.
So I thought you'd be bigger, right? With Patrick Swayze.
That's fine.
But his always thing was always be nice until it's time not to be nice. Right. So I just took the second part out. I just went, let's be nice. That's it. It's
funny you say that. I always say I know I'm a really nice guy until I'm not nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to still, draw lines in the sand. And, unfortunately, some people can sometimes view niceness as a weakness, and it's far from it. It takes a strength to be kind and be nice and have balance where you also hold your boundaries as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's really the nicest people that I know are probably some of the scariest, potentially scariest people I know. I've got a buddy, he's a Navy SEAL. He's on Team 6, right? And he was actually on the Bin Laden raid. Wow. And he is a big guy. He's our size, big guy. And he is the most soft-spoken, kindest, nicest man that you ever want to know. You wouldn't know, except you can just tell. You can just tell a guy's hard.
Oh, yeah.
But he's the kindest, nicest guy. Sit and talk with him, chat with him, and he'll give back. But when it's time, it's go time. He can go.
Obviously. Yeah, I have
It's
such respect for those guys.
yeah, I do too as well. So to keep on moving forward. I want to make sure we use our time because we've got some limited time here. You've obviously we've had failures. You can't have success without failures, and I love that we're taking the success tour here today. Is so, what kind of defeat? What's your worst defeat, and how'd you get past it?
Well, let's start off with a book. So
Okay.
I finally, a lot of people write books, want to write books, but back in the 90s, you really needed a publisher. So I remember getting 13 rejection letters in a row. And
Okay.
my literary agent at the time was laughing. I go, "What are you laughing about? It's rejection after rejection after rejection." She says, "Larry, most editors don't even take time to write a rejection letter. They just toss your proposal in the garbage." So I thought, so what do you mean? Well, she goes, they're looking, they're reading. It just maybe wasn't right for them. Well, guess what? That was 13. Number 14, I get a yes. And it's a small publisher out of Fort Worth. And that book was on the bestseller list for over 100 straight weeks.
Wow.
So that was the first book, Get Fit. My infomercial. So in my industry, an infomercial is not a bad thing to have. And I get an opportunity. And guess who signs me? The number one infomercial company in the world, Guthy-Renker. Guthy-Renker.
Sure.
Anyone in direct response. Proactive Skincare was there. So that became a $1 billion company.
That's where Tony kicked off. Tony Robbins,
Tony Robbins was there around the same time that I was. I shoot the show, and back then media was not very expensive, and they raised how infomercials work or direct responses. If you invest $1, how many do you get back? So a 7-to-1. Tony Robbins back then was a 7-to-1. It was all intellectual property, paper and tape. Real inexpensive to put together. And they were, for every $1 they made, they were making 7 back. That's a huge monumental success. Well, mine was a 2.5 to 3-to-1. And they just chose not to roll it out. It wasn't worth their time, and it failed.
Sure.
And that was a really tough moment for me. But then I ran into the original producer 2 years later. And he said, "Man, I know I could make that show work." I was upset with Guthy-Renker for not giving us another try to retool it. I ended up buying that infomercial for $5,000. And I gave them a 50% royalty on every unit I would sell. They sold it to me because they thought, "What are you going to do with it?" 6 weeks later, it was in the top 10 infomercial buys. It became the great North American Slim Down. It did over $150 million in revenue. It was spawned off a failure. It was someone else's failure became my success. And so I can give you a list of things like that have happened. And plus, I don't know very many people that have reached any level of success as an entrepreneur that didn't fail. We have a guy in town, Gene Street, who was a restaurateur. His first 5 restaurants went belly up. First 5, belly up. Then he ended up with Black IP, made a lot of money, and the story's never really changed since then. So I think your failures are just part of the process. I mean, I know very few people who set out, do it the first time, and just sail through the wind as a massive success. It just, you learn to handle the failures as almost the way I would handle an objection in sales. You just deal with it, you move on from it, but you can't be afraid to try. And that's the problem, is so many people are averse to failure that they feel safe if they don't even give themselves an opportunity to fail. And you have to sort of almost embrace the failure to some extent.
And so mindset, and I love it. Remember, persistence, perseverance, and passion. So that mindset that you have to do that, how do you make sure you stay on that? So for someone who's listening to you and I having this conversation, what could you say to them to say, what idea, tactic could someone use to get the right mindset that you've got with your 3 Ps? I'm totally using that, by the way.
Yeah, obviously it changes for every individual. And you look at the various generations in our society, in America, and each generation might think that it's harder to become successful than their previous generation.
Sure.
But there's never been a time in history where it's easier to become successful because of the tools that you have that are free. Instagram's free, Facebook's free, LinkedIn's free, all the TikTok's free, all these things that are free to help you reach out to the universe.
Sure.
And plus, I think people are more open-minded now when they see people that off a simple idea become multimillionaires. And so it really, at the end of the day, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. Some people feel safer sort of working for a company. Nothing wrong with that. But you have to be willing to allow yourself to fail in order to be successful. In other words, just like in a relationship, we've all been hurt in relationships.
Sure.
Everybody has. But if you get to the point where you got hurt in a relationship that you're so closed up that you don't allow anyone else to get close to you, you're never going to have a good relationship with anyone going forward, because you have to give yourself permission to be hurt. Give yourself permission to fail. And once you say, okay, I give myself permission to fail because I know it's just part of the process. That's how I believe it is.
Well, and I've heard it said that once relationships, for example, so you have a relationship, and if you're in a failed relationship, when we were teenagers, that first girlfriend that broke our hearts, I was going to die. It was horrible. I was I'm going to die.
Fetal position.
Yeah. So, but once you realize you didn't die, and I love that, but did you die? That's say, no, I didn't die. So, okay, it sucked, but I didn't die. So, okay, I'm okay to get into a new relationship. Same thing with businesses. I'll tell you what, my first business, when I bought the restaurant back at 22, it was a year, and my partners turned on me. I mean, I had two partners in there, and they were both my idols. They were my mentors, my idols. I've known them since I was 16 years old, and they were older guys. So like, these were the guys right there. And they turned on me hard, and I got kicked out. Basically, they said, we're taking here's your money, get the hell out, kid. And that's why I ended up in Texas, by the way. It was a good thing. So there's always positive comes out of every loss, or any negatives that out of it. And that's why I ended up in Texas in 1982. You know, I thought I was going to be the next John Travolta, going to Houston, working in the bars.
Well, like they say, and it's cliche at this point, like when one door closes, another one opens, but it really is true. I mean, I can go back to all my biggest challenges in my life have sort of led to something rather bigger and more interesting. I do find, Rick, and I don't know where you are in your stage of life, I'm slower now. I've slowed down a lot, but I like it. I need serenity. I need peacefulness. I'm actually going to take you on a little journey. I'm going to show you my backyard. Okay. Where I get some of that. My wife is an expert in meditation and healing. And we try, I don't know if this will translate. I don't know if you'll see it, but we have a nice, really sort of tropical, resorty kind of feel to our place.
Yep.
And I just try to keep myself centered. It's the simple things in my life that bring me such joy. Like yesterday, can I share one?
Yeah,
I have a grandbaby.
Absolutely.
My grandbaby is 2 years and 3 months, baby.
Okay.
And I'm chasing him around the house. He likes to play hide and seek, and we're running. Finally, he's exhausted. And he lies down on the carpet right by the front door. So I lie down with him, and I'm on my back. And all of a sudden, I'm horsing around with him, and I'm lifting him up. And he's very smart, and he talks very well for his age. After we're horsing around, he hugs me. He goes, I love you, Papa. That is a moment that I will embrace. And even Brenda and Lauren looked at each other like, where did that pop out of his mouth? And it's those simple moments of joy. And that's the thing too, Rick. Sometimes we chase the wrong thing. What we all want is we want to be happy, right? I mean, that's safe to say. We all want to be happy,
sure.
but happiness ebbs and flows. I could be happy right now, and then I can go outside. If 3 of my tires are flat, I'm not going to be happy in that moment. Sure. So what I seek is something different. I know that happiness ebbs and flow, and I think that you can choose. It's a great little story. If I have time, do I have a little bit of time?
Yeah, we got time. We'll keep going. I'm loving it.
Here's a great little story. 2 aliens are brought to Earth with one mission. to find happiness. And they're given a big 5-gallon bucket. And once they find it, they need to put it in there and bring it back to, up in the spaceship. So they're walking around and a lot of time goes by, over a year. And one day the two aliens are crossing each other in the street. And how are you doing? How's it going? And the one guy, his bucket is empty. But he looks in the other alien's bucket and sees the word happiness. Oh my God, I've been searching for that for a year. Where'd you find it? Oh, he goes, oh, I didn't find it. I created it. In other words, you make your own happiness. And that's a choice. Happiness is an absolute choice. You either choose to make yourself be happy or you choose to be miserable. And I've seen both specters in my family and in my life. But the thing that I seek now are moments that bring me joy. Joy is a beautiful thing. And it's sometimes it's every day. You could find some joy in your life every day if you look for it. And so I live a little bit differently than I probably did in my 20s, 30s, even up to early 40s. I was more of a bulldozer, bulldozing my way into trying to achieve what I want.
Sure.
I just sort of sit back and I sort of let it flow more to me. And I wish I had learned that when I was younger, because you will attract what you seek. And that's sort of how my life has been at this new stage of life.
Sure, absolutely. And I love that there's some similarities. I've got a 1.5-year-old grandson, and he calls me Papa, by the way. So I love that. So I totally resonate. But you're right. That's the joyous moments that I have with him. I never had a relationship with my grandparents. My grandparents, my father was the youngest son of the family of 5 kids. And so I'm the youngest grandson. My grandparents were, in their 80s when I was 10.
Wow.
So, and they all passed by the time I was 14, they all passed. So I never really had, and we had 22, 23 grandchildren. So I never got that relationship. Wow. Oh yeah, we're all Catholic. We have, they make babies. So I never had a chance to know my grandparents other than, my grandmother would drink tea and eat toast. That's all I remember. Right. And my grandfather, he just sat there in his chair. That's all I remember, smoked his pipe. But now my grandson, get to do stuff with him. He comes in, he goes, oh, Papa, we're going to go out in the backyard. We're going to hang out. And he's going to see that and know that relationship and have that. And that's where joy is. And like you said, at some stage in your life, you start looking for happiness, looking for things that make you happy because it's within you. Happiness is within us. But you start looking for things that bring you joy as opposed to new stuff, because I got more stuff that I know what to do with, as you probably do too.
Well, actually, I don't have a lot of stuff that people would think I have because I've just never been overly attached to material things. I've always had nice things since I've been working. I love my home. I love my, I always have a nice car. But, it's funny because, the good thing for me is, I wouldn't say good. I've also lost a lot in my life, be it through divorce, be it through bad partners, be it through not reading things carefully enough. But that's okay because I've always, I've made it, lost it, made it, lost it, and made it again. And so that's over a 35-year cycle. So early on, I knew I had to detach. Otherwise, I would have allowed my failures they would have just buried me. Sure. And I just don't allow that to happen.
So, and as we look at this, we say, what's the happiness, what's the joy? One of the things I love about what you're doing especially with your clubs, and I want to just take a moment and talk about your clubs, because I know that they're your babies. There's your heart and soul. Is you've always built a really interesting community concept, a concept of community in your clubs. And how did you build and keep community in the clubs? What's the secret sauce, the Larry North secret sauce of community?
It's really, by the way. But it's really no secret. I mean, basically, I used to say what seems like common sense is so uncommon in the health club industry. Common sense, keep it clean, really clean, like exceptionally clean. Like all the COVID stuff that gyms are doing now, I was doing from the day of my first gym. Don't let them get overcrowded, because once they're overcrowded, you're going to have unhappy people in your
Sure.
gym. So you have to have a balance between profitability and sustainability. And so for me, and also back to being nice. So if there's a secret sauce, my staff, and they know this, and you're always going to get some disgruntles along the way, because again, you have to set boundaries. I treat my staff like they're my number one customer, and they're the ones that put the Larry North logo on their shirt, on their hat, whatever it is. And I treat them really well. And I hope that they pass on and treat the customers really well. And you have to create a culture. The first thing in our culture is happy to do it. You'll see it. It's written on every gym I've ever had. It's happy to do it. What that means is create a happy to do it culture. Meaning if you ask someone for anything, their initial response is happy to do it. And there's some definition behind this of, you have to do it with enthusiasm. You have to do it with a smile. You have to
Sure.
be John spot, but you can't take advantage of happy to do it. So if there's one person that just is always happy to help out, always happy to volunteer, always happy to stay late, always happy to come in early, and if they're doing that for you, you have to return that happy to do it.
It's reciprocal. It's reciprocal. I like it. That's reciprocal.
That's a culture. That's one example of a cultural trait that I've done over the years. And
Okay.
I was trying to figure it out, and I think I'm correct. Since I have had multiple units, I still have 2 now. I think I'm the oldest currently still in business health clubs with more than one in North Texas, outside of the YMCA, which is a nonprofit.
Sure. That's great. And what a success story.
I'm year 32. So I think, you probably 3 to 5 years, I'll segue out. I've already segued out. Most people don't know I'm involved in private equity with an amazing company. And
Okay.
I just apply the same things that I've done my whole life to private equity. And I do real well at it. I'm sort of a natural. I sort of wish I maybe had started it earlier on, but now I can influence and help people in a different way. So if I buy with that group, if we buy a company, that can change lives too. And so
Okay.
it's just a transfer, if that makes sense.
Very cool. So, all right, I want to be conscious of your time because I know you got a hard stop coming up. Is there anything you want to promote? The clubs? You want to talk about the clubs? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Shout out.
I'm easy to get a hold of. I give you my email. It's larry@larrynorth.com.
Okay.
I also will say this. Here's what I'd like to promote. Some best advice from one of the men that I handed that baton to many years ago, a guy named David McDonald. This is over, probably 25, 30 years ago, sitting at a diner. He looked at me and he said, Larry, I'm going to give you some advice. Help other people become successful, and it'll only mushroom up your own success. So I give that same advice to everybody else. Just help people, man. Help people become successful. Just like Rick said earlier, you have to ask because people want to help people. They
Sure.
really do. And they only want to help people that are willing to help themselves. So instead of handouts, they like to give you hand ups. They give you a hand up so that you can take it from there. And that's all I would leave them with.
All right. I got a couple more questions, and these are Coach Rick's Bald Truth questions.
Okay.
Ask every one of my guests. So this is going to open up the Larry North door real quick and easy.
Okay.
So you're having a dinner party with 6 people. Yourself was number 1. What 5 people do you invite and why?
Gosh, I probably invite my 5 best friends,
Okay.
just because I know that it would just be a blast. And in terms of celebrity, I would have to take some time to think about what type of celebrities. I mean, certainly if they were dead or alive, I would have Ronald Reagan at the table. I would have Einstein at the table. I would probably love to have Confucius at the table.
There you go.
And so that would be sort of my little dinner party for the most part.
All right, cool. So an article's being written about you. When you're gone, we all know we have an expiration date at some point. What's the title?
Whew. God, that is so hard. You know, I'd probably call it Larry Boy because that was my nickname from my dad and all my dad's Brooklyn mobster buddies. So, so it started off with Larry Boy, and my story would be told from there.
Excellent. Good. So what do you do every morning to set yourself up for success for the day?
I almost do the same thing every day for the last however many years I could think back. And even when I travel, I usually wake up early. I usually take my supplements. I usually start off with either going to be breakfast with Brenda, which is always going to be a designed healthy breakfast, and or a drink that I mix with coffee. So I put protein in my coffee and I go work. Yeah, and I get my workouts in early. I like to get it done with. And on the treadmill, which is part of my routine, like here, I have flashcards that I'm studying.
Oh.
I'll study my flashcards. I'll take notes with my empty flashcards. I'll write things in my notes on my phone. I'll make my list of people to call, people to follow up with, people to email. And that's how I start my day. And usually by 10 o'clock, I'm done. And so with coronavirus, it's changed a lot. So it's real easy to slow down during this phase because, where normally I would want to be in my own gym, I think they feel comfortable the less people in the gym. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, man, Larry, thank you so much for being on The Bald Truth today, spending some time. You took some time out of your day. I really appreciate it. We know how to get a hold of you. I'll be screaming below, Larry@LarryNorth.com. You're thanks for being on.
I've enjoyed hanging out with you. This has been a lot of fun.
It's always a pleasure. We'll have to do it again because you got some great stories. I'd love to have you back on sometime.
Anytime. My pleasure.
You got it. All right, folks, you've been listening to The Bald Truth with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations reach their potential. If you're looking for a way to grow your organization, whether it's sales or strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group, our coaches can help you grow with our proven business acceleration system. Call us at 817-748-7425 or visit our website on the World Wide Web, www.mypotentialplus.com, and we'll connect you with the right coach for you. Remember, subscribe and hit the like button, subscribe. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube video. So hit like and subscribe to get every single episode. Folks, I'm Coach Rick, and that's The Bald Truth.